Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a magnificent guest with us today, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother, Professor Akil Parker. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. Glad to be back on.
Yes, sir. The honor is ours. And peace to everyone who is watching. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube. We want to get straight into it. This is a channel that is very pro education, pro doing for self and love and family. Mathematics is at the cornerstone of many of those things. So we want to get straight into it. The first question that we want to have for you, sir, is what is the purpose of math?
What is the purpose of math? I like that question. So, math is, let's start out with a definition of what math is. So, math really is a system of problem solving. So, when we understand mathematics, when we understand arithmetic, when we understand algebra, geometry, pre-calculus, calculus, and all the higher level maths, what we're actually learning is how to solve problems. Now, a lot of times, the examples that we get in classrooms, we may not feel that those are relevant to our everyday lives, but and a lot of people get caught up and they kind of get turned off to mathematics because those examples that they see aren't relevant. Now, it would be great in an ideal world if all the examples were relevant to our everyday lives, but what we have to understand is that the method is still valid, even if it's a specific problem that has nothing to do with your life, or like, it's something that you don't care about. You can still use that method and apply it. It's kind of like when you go to Target or Walmart and you buy a picture frame, right? You buy a picture frame because you want to put a picture of yourself or somebody from your family in that frame, with, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, right? You get home, they got the stock photo in the picture frame, but you probably don't care about that, white family that's probably in that stock photo. So you take the picture out, take that picture out, put it in the recycling bin because it's paper. We want to recycle, right? So we do that. And then we put our picture into the frame. So the frame is the same, but it's a different picture. So math is basically a framework for problem solving. So
Mm.
we can then take the framework, take the methods that we find in class, the quadratic formula, the Pythagorean theorem, all these different methods, and it really just trains our brain from a young age and early age in terms of how to identify problems. That's number one. Before we even start solving, we got to first know how to identify problems. I mean, a lot of us have sat in rooms with a lot of people around us, and we hear somebody on stage say something that's very problematic, or we see somebody do something that's very problematic. And sometimes you might be the only person that recognizes that that thing is actually problematic, whereas everybody else is like laughing, joking, they think it's cool, or they're just desensitized to it and they don't see nothing wrong at all. They don't even recognize it. So the first part is like being able to identify problems. So math teaches you how to identify problems. And then once you identify the problem, then we start to talk about, okay, how do I solve this problem? Because if I can't solve this problem, the problem is going to persist. And then it gets into, why I think so many people are uncomfortable with math, so many people have a fear of math. It's not necessarily, in my opinion, the fault of that individual. There is I believe it's sort of a conspiracy or a plan, right, to keep people uncomfortable with math, because if you keep people uncomfortable with math, then then people will deny themselves the opportunity to learn a skill set that will help them to solve problems. And a lot of problems are beneficial to other people because it's like an equation, right? On one side of the equation, you got the person that's having the problem. On the other side of the equation, you got the person that's benefiting from the problem, or the group that's benefiting from the problem. So, like, I have problems, you have problems. There's somebody that's benefiting from any problem that we have in our lives, right? And what happens is this: once I solve my problem, now I have created a problem for the person that was benefiting from it, because now they don't
Mm.
have that benefit no more. I took their benefit away by solving my problem. So now I'm
Yes,
in a
sir.
better place. So now it behooves those that are in control of the power structure, right, to say, okay, let's create a system. Let's put a system in place where, we have a lot of people, we deny people access to problem solving ability, right? And it's something that, I learned from studying the late Amos Wilson, where he said that one of the most significant challenges of the public education system, and this applies to charter schools and also private schools as well in many cases, is how do we give the impression that we're trying to help Black people, Black children, develop their math skills and develop educationally, while at the same time actually maintain the status quo, where they don't
Mm.
actually develop. So how can we do both things? We got to make it look like we're trying to do one thing, but actually in the same time we got to maintain and make sure that we don't do the thing that we're claiming that we're trying to do. So, math is very like integral. There's a calculus term, integral, right there, right? So math is very integral and critical to just our advancement as a people and just our existence and are able to thrive and survive, in this society. So we got to understand problem solving, how to identify problems and how to solve problems. So that's what the purpose of math is, and that's what math really is about. And a lot of times we don't see that in class. Like when I was early in my teaching career as a high school teacher, when I started back in 2005, I wasn't thinking about math like that. I was just
Mm.
real heavy textbook guy. Okay, this is the exercise set. I got to show y'all how to solve these equations. I got to show y'all how to simplify these expressions. I was very surface level myself as a teacher. But then as you get more deeper into it, you start to realize like the larger ramifications of mathematics and what it's really about and like the deeper nature of it. So that's one of the reasons I want to come onto your platform and talk to the people about some of these ideas.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate that. Go ahead, Professor. Yes, sir. And thank you, everyone who's watching. Naima says, Peace, family. Peace, Naima. And thank you, everyone who's watching. And Professor Parker doing a great job. We want to go into your parent workshops. What is that about? And why is it important for parents to be a part of their children's um, development and understanding math?
Well, for many reasons. You mentioned do for self, in the beginning of the program, and that's one of the things I learned, from studying, different scholars and different people that embrace Black nationalism. My study of like Malcolm X, and many others of that nature. The self reliance and that type of idea. And I think
Yes, sir.
education should start in the home, how and in the community. However, those that are in the home and in the community have to be provided with the resources so that they can do that effectively. I think a lot of times, a lot of our people have a lot of internalized anti-blackness. So what they end up doing is they identify this problem that we have and they say, well, these Black parents need to do more. These Black parents need to do better. While that may be true, these Black parents also need resources so that they can be able to do better.
Mm.
So by offering like what I call new math parent workshops, what I'm doing is it's a response to a lot of the complaints that parents have made about the way math is taught now in 2024 and how it's been taught since even prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic. um because math it's not being taught in the way, and I don't think this is a bad thing. I used to think it was a bad thing until I had to learn this math myself. And now I'm a strong advocate for it and a major fan of it. The
Mm.
Common Core math, because it gives you more of a conceptual understanding of math as opposed to just having you memorize formulas and algorithms and get straight to the answer without really understanding the relationship between the numbers, right? So what I intend to do in the new math parent workshops, and I've done a couple of them, but I would like to do a lot more of them, in Philadelphia, in Baltimore, and all around the country, whether it's in person or virtual, is just have parents be able to gain confidence themselves that they can be able to help their children. They can understand the math themselves, and then also be able to help their children themselves, so they can help with homework. Just something very fundamental, very fundamental, very simple, and it's something we take for granted. But a lot of parents don't help with homework, not because they're bad parents or they don't care about their children. They just don't understand the content. They don't understand the math. So I want to like help them become more confident and more comfortable, so they can help their children with the math homework. And what we got to realize too is that a lot of times it's not just about the content. A lot of our parents are dealing with anxiety and fear and phobias that they developed when they were in middle school or when they were in high school, when they were in elementary school, because the teacher might have yelled at them or they might not have understood, how to do something, and somebody made them feel bad, or somebody called them dumb, or somebody called you stupid, like whatever. Like, that's taxing, right? And people can like, develop this discomfort where they don't even want to try, right? They don't even want to try as a result. So that happens a lot. So we got to really, kind of talk to that and speak to that and help people, I guess, in a way, heal from that academic trauma. So with the
Mm.
new math
Mm.
parent workshops, I want to help people to feel more comfortable, heal from that trauma, let people see like, this isn't that difficult. Or especially one thing we can do is talk to people about what it is they're already doing mathematically that they may not realize. Because a lot of times we're doing all types of complex math and don't even realize it. Like, people going to the grocery store, having to plan meals, having to make sure they got enough money to feed this many people. Every year we see what people do, during Thanksgiving time. They got to do calculations based on how many people are coming over. Who all gonna be there? How much food do I need? How much cheese do I need for the macaroni and cheese? All this and that. Like all that that's a mathematical equation. We don't look at it like that. We just think it's just everyday life. But no, that's really a mathematical equation. So you already are using algebra. So what I want people is to tap into the algebra that they're already using and then
Mm,
start to gain some confidence because it's like, wait, no, I already do this, you know? So that way they can then feel comfortable helping their children with the homework because ultimately what I would like for us to do as Black people is to reorient ourselves in terms of how we relate to public schools that we don't control. Because if we have to
mm,
send our children to public schools we don't control because we got to work full-time jobs, at least we can be, we as the parents in the household or the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts, the big cousins, whoever, we can become the primary educators and then we can send our children to school and they can just practice the skills that we have taught them. So this is why, like, this is why. So it's like I think about Malcolm X when he says, only a fool would send his children to be educated by the enemies. So in our reality, in our system, I think that's an ideal. I think, but a lot of people got to go to work. We gotta pay bills. We got to provide for food, clothing, and shelter. So we can't all homeschool. That would be nice if we could. We can't all do it. But in the absence of that, I think at a minimum, school should just be a space for practice. Kind of like with sports. Like we may not, a lot of children, they don't learn how to play basketball in school at recess. They learn at home, in the neighborhood, on the block, around the way. And then when
mm.
they go to school, they might join the team in school so that they can get more exposure and get to travel around and play against other players from around the city. But they learned how to play ball in their community, like in their home. And I think math education should be the same way. We should be able to teach our children math in the household, on the block, in the community. From they should be able to learn it from the elders, from whoever's around that cares about them. But a lot of it, the major challenge is teaching the adults that are in the position to provide that knowledge. And this is why, I'm offering the new math parent workshops and also some of the other resources that we'll talk about, like the book and also the YouTube channel.
Yes, sir. Wow. Great, great. Thank you very much. Name says Teach. Thank you, Naima, for watching. Brother Nelson Ramos, thank you for always showing love. And man, this is great. Now, before we get to your book, I wanted to say that I was teaching chess to middle school students for about 3 months. And as I was teaching the students, of course, I'm going to study the sociology in my mind is looking at the race of the students, the gender, and when I see the few Black students that was there, and I'm looking at them, I'm looking at their parents, I'm like, man, if we can keep up with chess, if we can see the value of this, and maybe this can help us further in life, then of course, when you think of chess, I think of math.
Mhm.
So I definitely see how important it is that there's maybe two for every class I had, maybe no more than two Black students. And I was like, oh, we got to do better. I'm already in there teaching. These are students, sixth grade, seventh grade. The Indians already in front, Caucasians already in front, Asians, and there's always one or two Black students. What can we do overall to just make it a more loving, fun experience with math to try to get our people to want to get involved with it?
I think we just have to have more positive conversations around math. I think those of us in the community that have had positive experiences with math, those of us that may, as a career, they may be in a STEM discipline, a STEM field. They may be engineers, architects, doctors, registered nurses. I think we got to talk about more explicitly how we use math on a regular basis. The teachers, just different people, from all different types of walks of life. Because usually what we hear, like, is all the negative stories, like, how, oh, I hated math, or, math is my worst subject. We hear those stories a lot, and those stories are valid, but there's an imbalance because we don't hear enough of the stories about the Black people or, the Black children that excel in math, right? Or the Black adults that used to excel in math. We don't hear enough of those stories. So it's really just like a propaganda issue. You know what I'm saying? Just like, for example, when we think of in America, we think of the welfare system, we think of welfare recipients. Probably due to our socialization, we think of a Black person, right? Maybe due to our socialization, all the negative propaganda that we see in movies, TV shows, we see on the news, we might think of a Black woman, a single Black mother, right? But that's due to just propaganda when statistically that's invalid. There's plenty of empirical data to show that the most people that are on welfare and welfare recipients are white people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way the propaganda is set up, we're not meant to think that. They don't want us to think that and believe that. So the images that they show us, they're going to show us the Black woman. They're going to show us the Black man, right? Right. So we can do the same thing, but I think with math, we just have to do a better job of propagandizing mathematics and showing the positive aspect of it. But we got to be aggressive with it, and we got to, because we're fighting against a lot. Because, like I said, my belief is that we that negative propaganda plays a very important role, because what the negative propaganda does is it causes people to feel like math is going to be too hard, math is going to be like this insurmountable subject. And in order that we don't even try to practice it and develop the skill set so that we can learn problem solving, because again, once we learn problem solving, we create problems for those that are oppressing us, because once we end our problems, then we end their benefit, right? So what we got to do, and a lot of times with math, like math is not supposed to be easy, especially when you're learning a new topic for the first time. So it becomes this like self-fulfilling prophecy where you think, oh, see, look, the problem is hard. I told you I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It's supposed to be difficult. You've never seen this type of problem before a day in your life. Why would you think that it's going to be easy? You know what I mean? It's not necessarily just gonna be easy right out the gate, right? You're gonna have to do some work, put some effort into it. You're gonna have to make some mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and then until you can proceed. And another thing in terms of that, I also want us to think about why a lot of us that identify ourselves as being bad at math, why do we even think that? Like, what are the metrics that we use, and who told us we were bad at math, and why do we believe that? You know what I mean? Like, why is that? I know one reason why some people think they're bad at math is because when they were in school, no matter what the grade was, they might have sat in class with other people that might have understood new topics in math class faster than they did. So they're looking at their classmate that, oh, he got it already, or he's raising his hand, or she's raising her hand to answer the question. I'm sitting over here, I'm completely lost. I don't understand none of these steps. This doesn't make sense to me, right? But then they're thinking, oh, okay, well, these people are just so much smarter than me. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to ever get it. Here's the problem: myself. I'm a math teacher, I'm a math professor. I got 3 children. My children have always been advanced. My 18-year-old son, Nassim, shout out to him. He's a freshman at Morgan State down in Baltimore. I started teaching him algebra when he was 6 years old. I started teaching him how to solve equations when he was 6 years old. My daughter, Asada, that you'll see in a lot of the YouTube videos and the Instagram reels that I make promoting math. She's 12 years old. I started teaching her a lot of algebra early on. So if you are a student that does not have that benefit, and you don't have tutoring, and you don't have, that background, your parents don't have my background, then it makes perfect sense that if you look at my kids in class, my kids are going to be more advanced than you. That makes perfect sense. But that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. You're just going to think that my children just have a head start. And a lot of children that are in classrooms have a head start. And we make the mistake of, a lot of times, and a lot of adults did this 30 years ago, did this 20 years ago, 40 years ago. We looked at the person that was raising their hand all the time, the person that understood it real fast, faster than everybody else. And we thought, oh, because I don't know it as well as quickly as they do, then there's something wrong with me. Not knowing that that person might have had a parent that was doing what I'm doing, what I've been doing. That person might have had tutoring every day or tutoring twice a week or something. It's an unfair advantage, right? But you can't judge it. You can't fairly compare yourself to somebody that has an unfair advantage. And I think a lot of us do that. Another thing that happens in terms of causing us to think that we're bad at math is that, you know, we don't really understand the mistakes, that the value of the mistakes that we make on tests and quizzes. Like, if you had a teacher that doesn't give partial credit, so we give a 5-question quiz, and I see value in not giving partial credit. I see value both ways: giving partial credit, not giving partial credit, right? But if you had a teacher that doesn't give partial credit, then what happens is, you might, as an example, hypothetical, you might have a 5-question quiz and you get 2 questions completely correct. So you get 40 points for that. But the other 3, you made small errors on each problem, but you lost 60 points because that teacher doesn't give partial credit. So now you're thinking, oh, I got a 40. Oh, I failed. I'm not good at math. Your teacher might not have had an opportunity to sit down with you one-on-one and really break down to you, okay, well, this is what you did wrong in them other 3 problems. But if they might have told you, like, listen, you had most of the steps correct. You just left out a negative sign. You just forgot to write the negative sign. You lost a whole 20 points. Another question: you were supposed to do 8 divided by 4. You was working too fast, probably. You did 8 minus 4. And that made you get the wrong answer. But you had all the steps correct. Last problem, you might have like just messed up a step. You might have just confused 2 steps, or confused that type of problem with another type of problem. That 40% that you received on that quiz is not a fair representation of your level of understanding. But so many people had those experiences and they just like, oh, see, I failed. I'm just not good at math, you know? And not have in the absence of having somebody to really show you or break it down to you, like, yo, like you're really not that bad. Like, you weren't that far off, you just go through life and it's like a cumulative effect. You go into the next grade and the next math class and the next math class. You already have this expectation in your head that I'm going to fail, right? So it's like you've lost already before you even started the race because you already think you're
Mm,
going to lose, right?
mm,
So, a lot of people have those experiences. So I want us to like really think about those things and think like for the people that are watching this, like, did you experience those things? Because if you did, you might have to reevaluate your whole life because your whole life you might have thought like you was bad at math and you really wasn't. Like you really wasn't. You don't even know. Like, so and again, I think that's important because a lot of people that believe that they're bad at math, a lot of adults, they have children now. And then they have grandchildren, they have nieces and nephews, little cousins. A lot of times that negativity and that negative feeling we have and negative disposition we have towards math, we end up transferring it to our children and our nieces and our nephews and our grandchildren just because we have this kind of negative disposition. And our children, they can sense it. They can tell. Like they know when we're uncomfortable about something, right? And just like from the fact of when they try to show you the homework and they say, Ma, can you help me with this? Or Dad, can you help me with this? And if you say no, I'm not good at that, I can't help you with that, every time you do that, that plants a seed that reinforces this idea that, like, oh, my mom's not good at math, my dad's not good at math. At some point, when it starts to get hard for that child's going to naturally say, why should I be good at math? Why should
mm,
I care? Especially when people are telling you, like, yeah, you need to learn math because you need to, you want to get a good job, you want to live comfortably or whatever. I know there's some children out there that are smart enough to think to themselves, well, wait a minute, if my mom's not good at math, my dad's not good at math, because that's what they've told me. And I look around at this house I live in, it's like, oh, this house kind of nice. I got central air. I got a PlayStation 5. I got new sneakers. I always get my hair cut. Mom got a nice car. Dad got a nice car. I don't really want for nothing. So what you mean, like I need math to live comfortably? Obviously you don't need math to live comfortably. Now,
mm,
there's a lot
mm,
more variables at play that a young child may not understand. They may not understand, credit or whatever, or maybe I don't know. Your parents might be scammers. I don't know. Who knows? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's a lot of other things that could be going on. But I really want the parents to really develop their, I guess, math esteem, I'll call it, and kind of get over that discomfort they have with math. So for the specific purpose of being able to help their children. Like I had a homeboy that, failed calculus a couple times when we was in college. And I was like, bro, like you might want to like, take this class, we came out of college like 20, 25 years ago. But he was like, you might want to take this class once for all to like, and he was like, nah, man, like that class has no use in my life. And my first thought was like, well, bro, you got a son, man. Your son gonna need to learn calculus one day. So it'd be nice
mm,
if you could sit down and you could help him with calculus. But in order
mm.
for you to be able to help him with calculus, when he inevitably will have to take that class or should take that class, whether it's high school or college, it'd be nice if he could go to his dad and be like, Pop, can you help me with these derivatives? Can you help me with these integrals? Can you help me with the chain rule? You know what I'm saying? Like that would be a beautiful thing. And like that's such a rare thing in our community. But I want that to become normal. Like that right there, I want that to become normal. I want Black children to be able to go to their parents, their grandparents, their uncles, their aunts, big cousins, and be like, listen, let me like help me with this calculus. The same way you would ask them to help you with something else, like something else that's more commonplace. I think math should be one of those things that, again, in terms of do for self, we shouldn't have to go to the white man for help with calculus. We shouldn't have to go to the Asians and the Arabs. Like we end up having to do that because it's not enough of us that have that skill set. So I'm trying to create the ability for us to have that skill set. So that reality that the world that I envision that I would like to live in, I would like to live in that type of world where Black children always know, like, listen, even if I don't understand it in school, when I go home, my old heads, my parents can help me with this. So I'm trying to do my part to create that world, right?
Go ahead, Professor. Yes, sir. Professor Parker's teaching. And peace, Mimi. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Can't wait to upload this to YouTube. Speaking of your book, sir, what is the name and where can we go get the book?
So the book is called How to Use All This Math, Volume 1. How to Use All This Math, Volume 1. It's Volume 1 because Volume 2 and Volume 3 will be out later this year. That's the plan. I already have the outlines completed for both of those books. I just have to sit down and, block out some time and actually write, write those volumes. But yeah, the book is available on Amazon. It's 34.95. You can order copies. But if you do decide to order a copy, please use it. Let me elaborate on what the book actually is. It's really a resource guide for parents, caregivers, elders, community members, where I show this book has 20 short chapters in it, right? Each chapter is a different math skill. Well, targets a different math skill. Where what we're doing is we're looking at everyday activities, such as like going into the kitchen to get a snack, or riding in the car with children riding in the car with their parents or whoever, looking at license plates on other cars, and or just having different conversations with your children or going shopping with your children. How you can use those activities in order to help them develop arithmetic skills, algebra skills, and geometry skills.
Mm,
And a lot of times we take these things for granted, and we find out to later on, oh, wow, my child is like, 10 years old and they don't have their addition facts memorized. That's a
mm,
real thing, you know? So one of the chapters deals with what I call license plate games. So what I'm saying is when you ride in the car with your children, have your child look at the license plate of the car in front of them. Take those digits and just practice doing addition with those numbers. Practice doing subtraction with those numbers. Practice doing multiplication with those numbers. Practice dividing those numbers. Practice figuring out what the greatest common factor of those numbers is, what the least common multiple of those numbers is. All those different types of things. And what that does is that introduces math concepts and math vocabulary so that when they get to school, they're not overwhelmed with all that math, those math concepts and math vocabulary. Because that's where the math anxiety comes in when they get hit over the head by like all this new terminology and they never heard before. Because you notice how like even though some children do have anxiety in ELA class or English language arts class, they might not want to read, in front of a bunch of people or whatever, but there still are not as many students that have that type of anxiety as students that have math anxiety. And I believe
mm,
that one of the reasons is that like from birth, children are listening to people speaking the English language, and then when they start talking, they're practicing the English language and they're practicing on a daily basis. They're listening to their parents and their elders and their old heads like use certain vocabulary. I remember when I was in elementary school, we had to like copy down vocabulary words and we would copy them down and I'd be like, okay, I know that word. I know that word. Okay, that word I don't know. I got to look that one up. But I would just look at the words. I would try to identify the words that I already was familiar with versus the words I wasn't. And a lot of times I was very familiar with a lot of the words. But with math, it's like a lot of our children just go into math class cold. Like they don't know nothing. Right. But I think we've been socialized as a society, as a group, to completely outsource that responsibility to the schools. And we can't do that if we don't control those schools. See, if we control those schools and those schools are a loving and supportive environment, then that would be fine. But we don't, those schools aren't that. So, and I think, again, this takes me back to the original other point I made about us reorienting ourselves and becoming the primary educators. So that way, when we send our children to school, if we need to schools we don't control, they just are practicing the things and the skills that we have already taught them. Right. So, again, this what the book is meant to do is meant to prevent the math anxiety from ever setting in because it's like, oh, when I get to sixth grade and we're doing unit conversions, it's like, okay, cool. We do this all the time because when I go into the kitchen and I want to get a bag of chips and the bag of chips says 1 ounce on the packaging, it says 1 ounce and it says 28.3 grams. And then my mom always asks me, well, you know what? If 1 ounce is 28.3 grams, tell me how many grams 2 ounces would be. Tell me
mm,
how many
mm,
ounces 100 grams would be. And in the book, I show you the algebra, I show you the breakdown, the quick formula, and the quick equation to do how to break that down and do that. And then, so imagine every time your child goes into the kitchen and gets a snack and they look on the label and they see that, and then they're thinking, okay, this is how I do these calculations. So they're getting a lot of reps in, just like with sports. You got to get your reps in to get better at something, right? Math is the same way. And they're getting that repetition and they're practicing that skill. And then when they go into class in sixth grade, and the teacher, that's the objective for that particular day, and they're covering that unit, they're like, oh, okay, I'm familiar with this because I've been doing this since I was at home. And my mom showed me how to do this, or my dad showed me how to do this. And we do this, me and my brothers and sisters, we do this all the time. So it's not like, oh, I'm seeing this for the first time, and then I got this like, learning gap, or I don't understand this part or that part. No, you already understand it. So I'm really just here to practice. So then, and in that, in terms of that school, if you go to a school where you have like racist white teachers that don't like black children, or you have like bourgeois, black people, black teachers that don't like black children either, those teachers become irrelevant because it's like, I really don't need you that much. I just need you to give me the worksheet. Just give me the textbook assignment. I might have a couple small questions for you, but we don't really got to be that close. So you don't got to, like, the fact that don't respect my humanity and all that type of stuff, that really is not going to become much of an issue because I don't really need you for that much. We don't got a whole lot to talk about. I just need you to give me the assignment, and I'm just here to practice. I'm good. And also I can go home and get help because my
Mm.
mom can help me, my dad can help me, my uncle can help me, my aunt can help me. I have a support system, and math is something that they can help me with, you know.
Powerful. Yes, sir, Professor Parker. Our brother Nelson Ramos says great teachings. Mimi says black brilliance. Naima says I look forward to getting my copy for my daughter and nephew. Hey, thank you. Now make sure we get the copy. Speaking of, thank you everyone, our YouTube family, Sister Hope, Brother Kente, Brother Musa, Sister Auntie, all of them. Make sure you also continue to show love. Thank you all very much. I wanted to ask you your YouTube channel, sir.
The YouTube channel is All This Math, and the YouTube channel is kind of like, the thing I'm putting like the most emphasis on and putting the most work into developing, because I started the YouTube channel during the pandemic back in 2020 because we were already doing a lot of virtual tutoring during the pandemic. And but then I realized, I said, wait, I'm only one person. I can't tutor everybody, right? So I even recruited my son Nasim. He's been
Hmm.
tutoring with me since he was a freshman in high school, and he's still tutoring with me as a freshman in college.
Right.
Um, so so I started the YouTube channel to kind of try to extend my reach and be able to help more people, and also give like free resources. Like a lot of people on YouTube, they just put out content. So these are pre-recorded videos that people can access anytime as long as they have internet access. We have all different topics from arithmetic all the way up to, calculus one. We got statistics in there, algebra two, algebra one, geometry. Just I want to be able to. I want the All This Math YouTube channel to be a go-to, location for people, for young people that need homework help, for parents that want to, brush up on some skills or learn some skills so they can provide homework help, and even teachers. I want teachers to be able to use it as a resource in class, because sometimes, as for students just need to hear it from somebody else, or they need to hear it a second time. Or if you do the flipped classroom model, I don't know if you're familiar with the flipped classroom model. You familiar
No,
with
sir.
that?
No,
So
sir.
the flipped classroom model basically is just, instead of a teacher introducing a new topic themselves, like on a Monday, they might assign a video on the topic on a Friday as a homework assignment and say, listen, watch this 10-minute video on this topic of, I don't know, solving multi-step equations. Now,
Okay.
your homework is watch the video, but also anything you don't understand, write down your questions. So that way, when you come in on Monday, we gonna hit the ground running. We going straight into, okay, what were your questions? What didn't you understand about that when he did this or when she did that in the video or whatever? So if you're a teacher and you want to use the flipped classroom model, you could use the videos for that too. Or use the videos during your class and, like, just have it, you can stop and pause whenever and say, okay, well, look what he just did. Look what, like, somebody told me, why did he divide by five right there? How come he didn't multiply by five? Because that's when you really, like, you really can gauge the true understanding of the children, see if they really have true understanding, when you can ask them specific questions about, well, why didn't he do this or why didn't he do that, as opposed to just having children memorize steps. But when they can have intelligent conversations about, okay, why did they do this, why did they do that, that shows you really understand the concept. So that's,
Beautiful.
that's the YouTube channel. But please definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, tell everybody about the YouTube channel. But even after you subscribe, please use it. Make sure you use it. Use it on a regular basis. I guarantee you, if your children watch this YouTube channel on a daily basis, and even you as parents and adults, if you watch this YouTube channel on a daily basis, your math competency will increase tremendously. I guarantee you. I guarantee you it will. Just like, I mean, anything we watch on YouTube, when we have our favorite YouTubers, we have our favorite, content creators, favorite platforms. When we watch those on a regular basis, we become very well versed in whatever those people are talking about. So, a math YouTube channel is no different. If you watch this channel on a regular basis, if your children watch it on a regular basis, they will become good at math. I guarantee it.
Powerful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And on that positive note, we want to thank our brother, Professor Akil Parker, again for taking time out of his busy schedule to come on the People's Podcast. I'm excited. As my sister and Naima stated earlier, I got nieces and nephews who, man, this is going to be great for us, as well as, man, I love learning math. So I want to thank you again, sir. Even though we've never met in person, we feel like family. We connected. I always see you on Facebook posting your positivity. And anytime you want to come back, just let me know, my brother.
Yeah, let me know. Like I love Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta kind of often. I mean, not. I was just in Atlanta last month. At an event.
Okay.
I was in Decatur in the deck. I was out there. So let me know if I can come down and talk to some people, talk to some parents, to some people in the community,
Absolutely.
and just promote math. That's what I'm about.
Yes, sir. That's a done deal. I want to thank you all for watching. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day, sir.
Peace.
Peace.